Welcome to Nerdcultuur. Today we're doing another video in English for exploring Indian cinema series, and it's been a little bit since the last Indian movie I discussed, but because it's October I figured a horror movie would be a good starting point again. This is one that had been recommended to me in the comments as well, and it's called Tumbbad, and it's from 2018, so it's still a pretty recent movie. And I was pleasantly surprised to see that this movie only takes about an hour and 50 minutes compared to most other Bollywood movies. I always have to make free time for an entire afternoon. It's got a really simple but effective 3-act structure, and they kind of differentiate every act with a different chapter, and every chapter has a big time skip. And right from the first act I was already really into this movie because it really builds a lot of suspense and it kind of sets up a big mythology. Right from the opening of the film they give a big exposition dump that kind of lays out every bit of lore that you need to know about this specific god. I think the name of the god is Hastar or something, and he is supposed to be like the god of greed. He can bring you great wealth and everything, but he's kind of like a double-edged sword. And so we follow a family that has built an altar and a shrine to this god until things go wrong for them. I think this may have even been my favorite part of the movie because it felt very contained and I really liked the creepy grandma. I feel like in this part there was still a lot of mystery and suspense, whereas in the second act and in the third act they kind of shift to a bit more action focus. But the horror elements do remain throughout, and I really do have to give credit for the practical effects that they used in this movie, especially when you compare it to some of the CGI special effects in other Bollywood movies I've seen. I'm very happy that they just decided to make practical monsters. Both the grandma and the eventual god, they both look very disturbing, especially towards the end where there's multiple of them. And so yeah, when disaster strikes for the family and his younger brother passes away at the beginning of the movie, then we pick up in the second act when the main character is an adult. But I do have to give credit to the child actors in this film. They all played their part really well, both the main character and his younger brother and eventually his son. Because the third act takes another time skip, and by that point the main character has a son of his own, and he's kind of bringing him into the ritual they have to do every time. Because in order for Hastar to remain contained, they have to bring sacrifices to him, and every time they do that they can bring a bit of gold with them, so that kind of plays into the whole element of greed. And the movie really does feel like a cautionary tale that kind of warns you about the danger of greed, and it doesn't have the really nice happy ending you usually get in a Hollywood movie. But I thought the ending they did give us with this movie was actually perfect for the story they were telling, and it really hit the point home. I thought it was very effective, and it does kind of leave me wondering to what extent this lore is based on actual Indian mythology. Is this mostly folklore, or is this the type of story that children hear when they're at school when they're younger or before bedtime or something? But that's also what fascinates me about exploring these Indian films, is to get to know more about the different cultures and mythologies and the whole lore built around it. And I'm a big fan of horror in general, so I'd definitely be open to checking out some more Indian horror movies. So if you have some good recommendations, let me know, or just some other Indian movies I should check out in general. So I've missed the last couple that have played in theaters here, but maybe I'll talk about Brahmastra soon. I think I've seen it online already, so hopefully I'll be able to watch that soon. But yeah, I'm very happy that I watched Tumbbad, and I definitely recommend this movie, especially if you're into horror or you just want to know some different things about Indian mythology and lore. And I also have to give credit for the cinematography, because a lot of this movie definitely looked very pretty. It was definitely brought into focus really nicely, and I usually expect a bigger spectacle and scale for Indian movies, but for this film I felt they kind of contained it to the second act. That's the part that does increase the scale a little bit. But like I said, I think I appreciated the first act and the third act a little bit more because they felt a bit smaller and more focused. And I still have to get used to every Indian movie having these certain songs in them, but I did feel they played them at appropriate times in this film. It definitely didn't take away from the suspense or the horror of it. And the song was definitely catchy as well. I'm not sure if I'm going to listen to it for myself afterwards, but during the movie I definitely enjoyed it. So yeah, if you've seen Tumbbad already, let me know what you thought of it. Thanks for watching my review anyway, and subscribe to my channel to keep up with everything going on in Nerdcultuur.